Nobody's coming to save you. That's the first thing you need to understand. Not your parents, not your friends, not the universe, not fate. You're alone in this, and that's not a tragedy. The cost of becoming yourself starts with accepting that truth. You're the only one responsible for what happens next. Not responsible for what happened to you. Not responsible for the cards you were dealt, but absolutely responsible for what you do with them. That weight sits heavy on some people. They'd rather stay victims because victims don't have to do anything. Victims get to complain, get to point fingers, get to explain why their life is the way it is and have everyone nod sympathetically. You want to become yourself? Then you give up the victim card. You stop using your past as an explanation for your present. You stop blaming your circumstances for your choices. You look at where you are, accept that it's partly your doing, and decide what you're going to do about it. That decision costs you the comfort of powerlessness, because once you accept power over your life, you can't hide anymore. Most people are hiding. They're going through the motions, waking up, going to work they don't care about, coming home, numbing themselves with whatever helps them forget that they're not living, just existing. They've accepted that this is as good as it gets. They've made peace with mediocrity. They've convinced themselves that wanting more is greedy or unrealistic or not meant for people like them. That's the lie, the big one, that some people are meant for greatness and others aren't, that some people have what it takes and others don't. Everyone has what it takes. What they don't have is the willingness to pay the price, because the price isn't talent, it's not luck, it's not connections. It's the willingness to be uncomfortable for as long as it takes to get where you're going. Discomfort is the cost nobody talks about. They talk about hard work like it's just about hours. It's not. It's about doing things that make you want to quit. It's about pushing when your body says stop. It's about continuing when your mind says this isn't working. It's about showing up on the days when you don't see progress, when you don't feel motivated, when you're tired and sore and starting to doubt whether any of this matters. Those are the days that count, not the days when you feel good. Anyone can show up when they feel good. The version of you that achieves something meaningful shows up when they feel terrible, when they'd rather do anything else, when quitting would be justified and understandable. They show up anyway, not because they're superhuman, because they've decided that the discomfort of the work is better than the discomfort of staying the same. Staying the same has its own discomfort. People don't think about that. They think staying where they are is the safe choice. It's not safe. It's slow death. It's watching years pass and realizing you're the same person with the same problems, having the same conversations. It's looking at yourself at 40, 50, 60, and seeing someone who never tried, who never risked, who never found out what they were capable of because they were too scared to test themselves. That regret is heavier than any discomfort you'll face in the process of becoming. But you can't see that when you're young. When you're young, the future feels infinite. You think you have time. You think you'll start tomorrow, next week, next year, when conditions are better, when you feel ready. When the timing is right, the timing is never right. You're never ready. The conditions never improve on their own. You improve them by starting. Starting costs you the fantasy that someday, somehow, things will just fall into place. That you'll wake up one morning and suddenly have discipline, suddenly have focus, suddenly have the body or the business or the life you want. That's not real. What's real is the daily grind of doing small things consistently until they compound into something significant. But people don't want to hear that. They want the overnight success story, the breakthrough moment, the one decision that changed everything. Those moments exist, but they're not the beginning. They're the result of months or years of invisible work, of getting up early, of staying late, of saying no to distractions, of choosing the hard thing over and over until the hard thing becomes normal. That's what builds the foundation for the breakthrough. But nobody sees that part. They only see the result and assume it came easy. Nothing worth having comes easy. If it was easy, everyone would have it. The fact that most people don't have what you want should tell you something. It's available. It's possible. But most people quit before they get there. They quit when it gets hard, when it gets boring, when they stop seeing immediate results. They quit right before the breakthrough because they can't see how close they are. You don't get to know how close you are. That's part of the cost. You have to keep going without knowing if you're 1 day away or 1 year away from the result you're chasing. You have to trust the process when the process isn't giving you feedback. You have to believe you're making progress even when you can't see it. That faith is expensive. It costs you certainty. It costs you the comfort of knowing. You have to move forward in the dark and trust that you're heading in the right direction. Most people need proof before they commit. They want to see results before they go all in. That's backwards. You commit first. You go all in. Then the results come. But there's a gap between the commitment and the results. In that gap, you're working hard with nothing to show for it. That gap tests everything. Your commitment, your discipline, your belief in yourself. Most people fail the test because they can't handle working without immediate reward. We've been trained for immediate reward. You press a button, something happens instantly. You send a message, you get a response in seconds. You order food, it shows up in minutes. Everything is optimized for speed, for convenience, for immediate gratification. Then you try to build something real and it doesn't work that way. You put in effort and nothing happens. You work hard and see no change. Your brain doesn't know what to do with that. It's used to instant feedback. When the feedback doesn't come, it assumes the effort is wasted. The effort is never wasted. Even when you can't see results, you're building something underneath. You're developing the capacity to do hard things. You're training your mind to push past discomfort. You're proving to yourself that you can stick with something when it's not fun anymore. That's the real transformation, not the external results. The internal shift where you become someone who doesn't quit. Becoming someone who doesn't quit costs you the option to quit. Sounds obvious, but think about it. When things get hard, you've always had the escape hatch. You could stop. You could go back to what's comfortable. You could tell yourself you gave it a shot and it didn't work out. That escape hatch is your safety net. Taking it away means if things get hard, you don't have an out. You have to figure it out. You have to solve the problem. You have to push through. That's terrifying for people who've built their identity around quitting when things get uncomfortable. They've always had the option to bail. They've always preserved their ability to stop if it gets too hard. Taking that option away means they actually have to face the hard parts. They have to do the thing they've been avoiding. They have to confront the fact that the only thing standing between them and what they want is their unwillingness to be uncomfortable. Comfort is killing you. Not physically, slowly, quietly, in ways you don't notice until years have passed and you realize you're the exact same person you were 5 years ago. Same job, same body, same relationships, same problems. Nothing changed because you prioritized comfort over growth. You chose the familiar over the unknown. You picked safety over risk. And safety feels smart until you realize it kept you in a cage. The cage isn't locked. It never was. You can walk out anytime, but walking out means leaving behind everything familiar, the predictable routine, the known quantity, the life you've built that's comfortable even if it's not fulfilling. Leaving that behind feels like loss, like you're giving up something valuable. You're not. You're trading something comfortable for something meaningful, but in the moment of transition, all you feel is the loss. That's the cost, feeling like you're losing when you're actually gaining. feeling like you're falling apart when you're actually coming together, feeling like you're moving backwards when you're moving forward in a direction that's unfamiliar. Your brain can't tell the difference between unfamiliar and wrong. It just knows this doesn't feel like what you usually do, so it panics. It tells you to go back. It creates anxiety and doubt and fear to push you back toward the familiar. You have to move through that, not around it. Through it, feel the anxiety and move anyway. Feel the doubt and move anyway. Feel the fear and move anyway. Because on the other side of those feelings is the version of you that doesn't let feelings dictate actions. The version that feels fear and does the thing anyway. That's who you're becoming. Someone who doesn't need to feel ready, doesn't need to feel confident, doesn't need to feel motivated, just needs to decide and act. Decision without action is just dreaming. Everyone dreams. Everyone has ideas. Everyone thinks about what they'd do if circumstances were different. The people who actually do something aren't smarter, aren't more talented, aren't luckier. They just act. They take the idea and move it from their head into reality. They start before they're ready. They build before they have all the answers. They move forward even when they can't see the full path. That movement costs you the illusion of control. You want to plan everything, map it all out, know exactly how it's going to go before you start. That's not possible. You can plan the first step, maybe the second. After that, you're figuring it out as you go. You're adapting. You're learning. You're making mistakes and correcting course. That's how it actually works. But admitting that means admitting you don't have control. You're not the master strategist with the perfect plan. You're someone taking a risk and hoping it works out. Hope isn't a strategy, but it's necessary. You need to believe this could work even when you have no proof. You need to trust yourself even when you've failed before. You need to maintain conviction even when people around you think you're wasting your time. That belief in the face of uncertainty is what separates the people who build something from the people who just talk about building something. Talking is free. Planning is free. Dreaming is free. Action costs you time, energy, focus, and the risk of public failure. Most people aren't willing to pay that. They'd rather keep their dreams theoretical so they never have to face the reality of whether they can actually pull it off. They protect their ego by never testing it. They stay in the safe zone where they can always say, I could do that if I wanted to, without ever having to prove it. You want to become yourself? Then you stop protecting your ego. You put yourself in situations where you might fail, where people might judge you, where you might look foolish or incompetent or unprepared. You do it anyway, not because you enjoy embarrassment, because growth requires you to attempt things you're not good at yet. And when you're not good at something, you look bad doing it. That's the cost. Looking bad on your way to getting good. Everyone who's good at anything was terrible at it first. Everyone. But most people can't handle being terrible. They try something once, realize they're not immediately good at it, and quit. They interpret their lack of immediate success as evidence that they're not meant to do this thing. That's not how it works. You're not meant to be anything. You become what you're willing to work at, what you're willing to be bad at long enough to get decent, what you're willing to practice when practice is frustrating and slow and unrewarding. Practice costs you the instant gratification of being good now. You have to delay. You have to invest hours into something that doesn't produce visible results yet. You have to trust that the accumulation of those hours will eventually matter. That's faith. And faith is hard to maintain when you're alone in your room practicing something and seeing no improvement. When you're putting in work and nobody notices. When you're grinding and there's no applause, no recognition, no external validation that you're on the right track. External validation would be nice. It would make this easier. But you don't get it in the beginning. You get it after you've made it, after you've put in the work, after you've built something that people can see and recognize. Before that, you're invisible. You're working in obscurity. Nobody cares. Nobody's watching. Nobody's cheering you on. It's just you and your commitment and the question of whether that's enough. For most people, it's not enough. They need the audience. They need the likes and comments and validation that they're doing something worthwhile. Without that external feedback, they lose motivation. They stop showing up. They convince themselves it doesn't matter because if it mattered, people would care. But people only care after you've won. While you're building, you're alone. That loneliness is the cost. Working in the dark, building in silence, pushing forward when nobody's paying attention. That's where character gets built. Not on stage, not when people are watching. In the private moments when you choose to show up even though nobody would know if you didn't. When you do the work even though you could skip it and nothing would change today. Those moments don't feel significant. They feel like nothing, but they're everything. Because what you do when nobody's watching determines what you are when everyone is watching. Who you are in private is who you actually are. The public version is just a performance, a highlight reel. The real you shows up when you're alone, when there's no pressure to impress anyone, when you can take the easy route and nobody would know. That's the test. Do you do the right thing when the wrong thing is available and consequence-free? Do you keep your word to yourself when breaking it would be easier? Do you honor your commitments when nobody else knows you made them? Most people don't. They make promises to themselves and break them constantly. I'll start tomorrow. Tomorrow comes and they push it to next week. I'll do it when I have more time. They have time. They just spend it on things that don't matter. I'll begin when I feel ready. They never feel ready, so they never begin. These broken promises accumulate. They build a relationship with yourself where you can't be trusted, where you say things but don't mean them, where your word, even to yourself, is worthless. That's a hard way to live. Not trusting yourself, knowing that when you commit to something, there's a good chance you'll quit. Knowing that your motivation will fade and your discipline won't pick up the slack because you never built any. Knowing that next year you'll probably be in the same place making the same promises you're making now. That knowing eats at you, not loudly, quietly, in the background. A constant reminder that you're capable of more but unwilling to do what's required to get there. What's required isn't complicated. It's simple, just not easy. Show up, do the work, be consistent, repeat until results appear. That's it. No secret formula. No hidden strategy. Just persistent, consistent effort directed at a clear goal. But people complicate it because complicated gives them an excuse. I don't know the right method. I'm not sure which approach to take. I need to do more research. They're stalling, hiding behind the need for perfect information when what they actually need is imperfect action. Imperfect action beats perfect planning every time, because action creates feedback. You try something, it works or it doesn't. You adjust. You try again. That cycle of attempting, learning, and adjusting is how you make progress. Planning doesn't create feedback. It just creates more plans. You can plan forever and never move forward. You can research forever and never know enough. At some point, you have to close the laptop, step into the arena, and see what happens. What happens is usually failure, not dramatic, catastrophic failure. Small failure. You try something and it doesn't work quite right. You attempt a new approach and it's harder than expected. You push yourself and fall short of your goal. That's normal. That's part of the process. But it feels personal. It feels like evidence that you're not cut out for this. It's not. It's evidence that you're learning, that you're in the game, that you're actually doing something instead of just thinking about doing something. Failure costs you the fantasy of perfect execution. You wanted this to go smoothly. You wanted to be good at it immediately. You wanted to skip the messy middle part where you're figuring it out. You don't get to skip it. Everyone goes through it. The difference is some people use failure as feedback and others use it as an excuse to quit. The quitters say, "See, I tried and it didn't work." The builders say, "That didn't work, let me try something else." Same failure, different response. The response is everything. You can't control what happens. You can't control if your first attempt succeeds. You can control what you do next. Do you quit? Do you adjust? Do you learn? Do you try again with new information? That choice, made repeatedly, determines whether you eventually succeed or stay where you are forever. Forever is a long time to stay stuck, but that's what happens when you let failure stop you. You stay in the same place, same problems, same limitations, same life. Years pass, nothing changes. You get older but not better. You accumulate age without accumulating growth, and somewhere deep down, you know you could have been more, done more, built more, but you weren't willing to fail enough times to figure it out. The people who make it aren't smarter, they just failed more. They tried more approaches, they got knocked down more times, they learned more lessons the hard way, they paid the tuition in mistakes and kept going. That's the real cost, not the first failure, the willingness to fail repeatedly, to be wrong over and over, to look foolish again and again, to keep trying when you've already failed 10 times and have no guarantee the 11th attempt will work. Most people tap out after a few failures. They decide they gave it a shot. They can tell themselves they tried. They can maintain the story that they could have made it if they'd kept going. But they didn't keep going, so they'll never know. They'll spend the rest of their life wondering what would have happened if they'd pushed a little harder, tried a little longer, committed a little deeper. That wondering is its own cost. The cost of quitting, the cost of giving up on yourself. Giving up on yourself is easy. It's socially acceptable. People will understand. They'll sympathize. They'll agree that you gave it your best shot. They'll reinforce your decision to quit because your quitting makes them feel better about their own quitting. Nobody wants to watch someone else persist when they've given up. Your persistence is a mirror showing them what they could do if they wanted to badly enough. So they'll discourage you. Not directly, subtly. Are you sure you want to keep doing this? Maybe it's time to be realistic. You've already tried so hard. They're not trying to help you. They're trying to make themselves feel better. Because if you quit too, then quitting is normal. It's what reasonable people do. But if you keep going, if you succeed, then they have to face the fact that they quit too early, that the opportunity was there and they walked away from it. You can't let their comfort determine your commitment. You can't let their limitations define your potential. You can't let their fear keep you playing small. This is your life. Your one chance to see what you're capable of. You don't get another shot. You don't get to come back in 20 years and try again with the same energy, the same time, the same opportunities. What you have is now, this moment, this day, this year. What you do with it determines what your life becomes. Your life becomes what you repeatedly do, not what you occasionally do, not what you do when you feel like it, what you do consistently, day after day, week after week, month after month. The small actions that don't seem to matter in the moment but compound over time into something significant. That compound interest is how ordinary people build extraordinary results, not through dramatic gestures, through boring consistency. Consistency costs you excitement. It costs you variety. It costs you the thrill of always doing something new. Because consistency is repetition. It's doing the same things over and over even when they're not fun anymore. Even when they're tedious. Even when you're so sick of the routine you could scream. You do it anyway. Because the routine is what produces results. The excitement is what produces good stories but no actual progress. You have to choose. Exciting life or effective life. Most people chase exciting. They jump from thing to thing looking for the next rush. They start projects and abandon them when the newness wears off. They're always beginning but never finishing, because finishing requires pushing through the boring middle where there's no excitement left. Just work. Hard, repetitive, unglamorous work that nobody celebrates. That work is where transformation happens. Not in the beginning when everything is new and you're fired up. Not at the end when you're seeing results and feeling validated. In the middle, the long, slow middle where you're grinding with no guarantee it'll pay off. Where you're showing up day after day and seeing no visible change. Where you're starting to doubt whether any of this matters. That's where you find out what you're made of. Most people aren't made of much. They fold under pressure. They quit when it gets hard. They give up when they stop seeing progress. They let discomfort dictate their decisions. They're slaves to how they feel in the moment. If they feel motivated, they work. If they don't, they don't. That's not how you build anything lasting. That's how you stay stuck in patterns you hate but can't break. Breaking patterns costs you the familiar, even if the familiar is dysfunction, even if it's making you miserable. It's known, it's predictable. You know how to operate within it. Breaking it means stepping into unknown territory, new behaviors, new routines, new ways of thinking. Your brain hates that. Your brain wants to keep you alive, not help you grow. Alive means familiar. Growth means risk. So your brain will fight you every step of the way. The fight feels like resistance, like you can't do it, like something is stopping you. Nothing is stopping you except your own nervous system trying to keep you safe. Safe means unchanged. Growth requires you to override that safety mechanism, to acknowledge the fear and move anyway, to feel the resistance and push through it, to recognize that the discomfort isn't a sign you're doing something wrong. It's a sign you're doing something different. Different is what you need. You can't get different results doing the same things. You can't become someone new using old patterns. You have to change, and change is uncomfortable. It's supposed to be uncomfortable. Your nervous system is literally designed to resist it. So feeling uncomfortable doesn't mean you're off track. It means you're on exactly the right track. You're just so used to comfort that anything else feels wrong. Comfort has taught you that feelings are facts, that if something feels wrong, it is wrong. That's not true. Feelings are just data. They're your nervous system's best guess at what's happening based on past experience. But your past experience is why you're stuck. Your past patterns are what created your current reality. Trusting those same feelings that got you here isn't going to get you somewhere better. You need new data, new experiences, new evidence that you can do hard things, that you can push past discomfort, that you can handle more than you think. But you only get that evidence by doing the things you're not sure you can do, by attempting what scares you, by stepping into situations where you might fail. That's how you build confidence. Not by thinking about it, by proving to yourself through action that you're capable. Capability isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. Through repetition, through attempting and failing and learning and trying again, through gradually expanding what you believe you can handle. Most people never test their limits. They operate well within their comfort zone and assume that's their maximum. It's not. It's just the edge of what they've been willing to try. Your actual maximum is miles beyond where you think it is, but you'll never know unless you push, unless you test yourself, unless you go to the edge of your capacity and then keep pushing. That's where growth lives. Not in the zone where you're comfortable and capable, in the zone where you're uncertain and struggling and not sure if you can handle this. That's the zone that transforms you. Most people avoid that zone their entire life. They stay where it's safe, where they know they can succeed, where failure isn't possible because they're not attempting anything difficult. That safety keeps them small, keeps them limited, keeps them from ever finding out what they're actually capable of. And they'll die never knowing, never testing, never pushing, never trying to see how far they could go if they really committed. That's the ultimate cost. Not the cost of trying, the cost of not trying, the cost of playing it safe, the cost of protecting yourself from failure so effectively that you also protect yourself from success. The cost of choosing comfort over growth for so long that growth stops being an option. The cost of waking up one day and realizing you're exactly where you were 5 years ago because you've been treading water instead of swimming. Swimming is hard. It requires effort. You get tired. You might go under. But treading water is exhausting in its own way. You're expending energy just to stay in place, to not drown. But you're not going anywhere. You're not getting closer to shore. You're just surviving, staying afloat. And you can do that for years, decades. A whole life spent treading water, using all your energy just to maintain, never actually progressing toward anything. The cost of becoming yourself is the decision to stop treading water and start swimming, even though swimming is harder, even though you might go under, even though shore looks far away and you're not sure you can make it. You swim anyway, because anything is better than staying in the middle of the ocean going nowhere. Because the risk of trying and failing is better than the certainty of staying stuck. Because you'd rather find out what you're capable of than spend your life wondering. That decision changes everything. Not immediately, eventually. When you decide you're done settling, done accepting less than you want, done letting fear and comfort and other people's opinions determine what you do. When you decide that becoming yourself, the actual you, the version you know is possible, matters more than staying safe. That's when transformation starts. Not when conditions are perfect, when you decide they don't need to be,